In an age where YouTube tutorials and Instagram influencers dominate our beauty feeds, it's easy to get swept away by the latest trends, tips, and tricks. But as licensed cosmetologists, we know that the world of beauty is about much more than just what's trending. It's about safety, skill, artistry, and most importantly, the well-being of our clients. Welcome, beauty enthusiasts and fellow licensed cosmetologists, to another exciting episode of Hear What I'm Saying. I'm your host, Kinetra, and today we're delving into a topic that's become increasingly important in our ever-evolving beauty industry. We're talking about why you should think twice before relying solely on YouTube beauty influencers for professional cosmetology advice. While there are countless talented and well-intentioned beauty content creators out there, it's crucial for us to maintain a discerning eye when navigating the vast sea of online beauty advice. In this episode, we'll explore why you should consider the limitations of relying on YouTube beauty influencers for our industry-specific knowledge. So stay tuned for an eye-opening discussion that will help you separate the wheat from the chaff in the world of online beauty advice. So I'm not going to pretend as if I never went to YouTube as a resource for some sort of information whenever it comes to hair-related situations. But what I don't go to YouTube for is education when it comes to the anatomy and the physiology or science of hair. I mean, they really can't supply this information if they are only influencers because they never went to cosmetology school to even know this information. Unless they done some fine-tuned Googling. But you also have to know what the scientific words are in order to get your Google on. And a lot of the reasons why we as professionals don't create content on YouTube that's related to hair is because we really genuinely don't have the time. But would love to if we did, so that we can educate the misinformed or inform the misinformed so that we can have happy and healthier relationships with our natural hair. Because a lot of the reasons why we don't connect with our natural hair in a healthy way emotionally is because these beauty influencers on YouTube, after they have mastered their craft and mastered the products that work for their hair, then they upload it on YouTube and they are perceived as if they do this so effortlessly and easy. So then when you go and try all the products and all of the techniques that she recommended in order to achieve the hairstyle or look that she did, you feel like a complete failure. Not understanding it took her about 150 tries before she nailed it. And that's another thing I want them to start including in their disclaimers. And maybe some do, but I have yet to see one that does. They will disclaim that they are not licensed professional and this is what works for them and it may not work for you. But they don't disclaim that very vulnerable moment when they kept failing until they master their inspiration. A lot of the reasons why these techniques don't work specifically for you, because I'm here to tell you, with my experience as a licensed professional, no one hair out here is the exact same. You may share some similarities in texture, but it's not the same. I mean, let's be honest. The curl patterns on our one head ain't even the same. Your texture may be looser at the top and kinkier in the back, or the complete opposite. So how in the world is your texture going to be similar to someone else's on the other side of the laptop or computer when y'all don't even share the same DNA? Because contrary to what people believe, hair is associated with DNA. You can share similar textures but have different porosity levels. And if you have different porosity levels, there's no way you are going to accomplish the finished look that particular beauty influencer is demonstrating. Because we all know, or we should know, or if you don't know, porosity means the hair's ability to absorb moisture. So if your hair cannot properly absorb the moisture from this product, then there's no way you are going to master the finish of the look that this YouTube influencer is creating. And I've yet to hear a beauty influencer talk about that. People are so focused on texture, 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 when you also need to be considering porosity, probably more than texture. And this is why whenever you go buy the products that they recommend and do the technique that they also recommend, and your finished results don't look nothing like the beauty influencers, this is why. Your hair is just completely different. Everyone's hair is unique and it should be treated as such. I don't use the same hair products for all of my clients that come visit me at the salon. It's really impossible to. I mean, if I'm trying to get the desired results that they are requesting, I can't do it. And whenever you are in a situation where you are challenged with your natural hair and you don't know what to do, what products to use, it's so important to find a natural hair professional stylist to help you on your journey. Because a lot of reasons why we struggle with our natural hair and battle between if we love it or hate it is because we genuinely don't know what to do with it. We love to blame it on texture. And if we're not blaming it on texture, it's because of the shrinkage. And if it ain't the shrinkage, it's because of texture and shrinkage. Or my favorite, my hair won't grow, which is not true if you don't have a severe medical concern. Now, I'm not going to say all textures grow the same because they don't. The looser your texture is, the ability for your hair to absorb and hold moisture is much more easier than someone with tighter curls. So your hair retain length better opposed to a client who has kinkier, tighter curls. So it's perceived as if your hair grows faster, but it's not. The tighter your curls, the more prone to dryness your hair is going to experience, which leads to breakage. And it's just more difficult to retain length if your hair cannot hold moisture. This is why relying on a licensed professional that specializes in natural hair care and growth, opposed to someone who is an influencer on YouTube or TikTok, is very important because they are able to assess your hair beyond the surface. And what I mean by that is they know the anatomy and the science and physiology of hair, and they understand that hair has growing cycles. And so they are able to detect and understand how to achieve whatever natural hair goals that you have. This person on the other side of the laptop and the computer, they're just talking. They don't have a clue what's going on with you and your hair. I hardly ever even see them recommending to get trims and cuts as a very essential key into retaining length. And that's the basics. I'm not saying not all of them do it. I'm just saying from my experience, I don't see a lot that do. But you need an organic treatment for you, personalized for you, because she has mastered the organic treatment for herself. And now you need to do it for yourself. And it's not going to be her regimen. You need your own. YouTube influencers are very prone to creating a lot of misleading information, especially when it comes to processing chemicals on your hair. Whenever a client comes to me because they are looking for me to restore their hair because it has been severely damaged from following someone on YouTube, specifically when it comes to color, the first question I always ask them is, what volume developer did you use? I already know the answer because they told me their reference was YouTube. And it's always 40. I have never seen a YouTube influencer even break down what the levels of the volume in developer even mean. I'm not even quite sure if they know what it means. There's science and chemistry that's related to that. You just don't slap a 40 on all hair. It's completely unnecessary, to be honest. You need to understand that when it comes to lifting dark hair to light and considering volume developer in this scenario, of course, because you need to, You have volume developer levels 10, 20, 30, and 40. Those are like the most common. And you need to understand with those different volume developers come with a certain level of lift. And depending on how high you are trying to go from your dark hair will determine which volume developer you should be using without breaking your hair off. 40 is like when you are trying to just reach platinum, okay? And depending on how dark your hair is, you ain't even gonna reach it with a 40. So whenever you don't reach it in the first session, you go back and redeposit with 40 again. And then when you go to wash your hair, you notice that your hair is severely shedding and breaking off. You have literally overprocessed your hair. Some of y'all will even see that these beauty influencers are using hair extensions as a source for coloring and not even their own hair. But you go use that information. They're only talking about the hair extensions, but you're thinking that you can use that same method on your hair and you will completely fry, dye, and lay all your hair to the side once you follow those recommendations because they're not being very specific. Because I know if I was going to upload content about it, I would say this particular technique that I'm using right now is on my bundles. And my bundles have not been processed, or they have been processed. But let's be honest, all bundles have been processed. They say it's virgin hair, but none of that hair is virgin hair. They cut it from the donor's head and they process it to all look the same because no one's hair, as mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, is the same. So ain't no way you gonna send me 3 bundles of matching hair the exact same when they probably came from 3 different heads. So it's virgin hair? Absolutely not. You process that hair in order for it to all look the same. So the hair is already arriving to you processed. So then you process it with more chemicals, and then you process it with more chemicals. But understand that these are bundles. This isn't your hair. So you can't take the information that they're using and mimic it with your hair when they're not even using their own hair to demonstrate these techniques. So I will say sometimes this information is unintentionally misleading. So yes, I tend to a lot of overprocessed, chemically treated clients behind my chair due to YouTube. Another one I see in my chair is the overuse of protein. This rice water treatment is like probably one of the most annoying treatments out here to me because rice is loaded with protein and you should not be rinsing your hair with rice water every time you wash your hair because protein will break your hair off or overcompensating for the lack of protein treatments that you gave yourself in the past. That's another one. I had a client to use an Alpha G treatment on her hair twice in 1 month. All because she's trying to overcompensate from the times that she never ever did. Broke one side of her hair completely off. Y'all have to follow these instructions to a T. It's a reason why you cannot get protein treatments but only 6 to 8 weeks. Because too much protein is not good for your hair. Too much of anything is not good for your hair. Too much of anything is not good for you. I mean, if you have a headache and you take 2 Motrins, you'll be good. But if you take 10, you might die. You feel me? Do you hear what I'm saying? So be careful even about the rice water protein rinses. That's not good for your hair either. Protein can dry your hair out, which is why you always have to follow up with a deep penetrating mask or conditioning treatment afterwards because it really dries your hair. It's very beneficial for reconstructing your hair, but when it is improperly used, you will ruin your hair. And you don't never ever hear the YouTube influencers talking about this stuff because they don't know. I remember I saw this YouTube influencer. He was talking about how steam treatments ruined his hair. Deep conditioning treatments took out his hair. Protein took out his hair. So I was like, this is interesting. Let me go and see exactly what he did. This influencer was steaming his hair every week, deep conditioning his hair every night. That is extreme. Okay? Understand that steam is associated with heat. Okay? I don't have a steamer in my salon. I have a spa mist because the spa mist produces very tiny water molecules, and it's not heat that it produces. It's hydration. There's a difference between the two. You could unintentionally oversteam your hair, which is why I don't have one in my salon. I don't want to unintentionally do that to any of my clients. And he was doing this every week. So a lot of the reasons why most or some don't have success with their hair is due to improperly using products. And then comes the YouTube reviews and ratings of the product ruining their hair when it's like, no, you improperly used the product and those are now your results. And now you have created another situation where the viewer has been misinformed because you didn't know what you were doing. Y'all also have to understand that some of these influencers are product biased. They are paid sometimes, not all, and not even most of the times. They are paid sometimes to create the content in a way of selling it as appealing. Celebrities are so bad for this, okay? Because what I do love that influencers are now doing is they are demanding the same demand that these product labels are creating for them. Because a lot of these product labels, they feel as though, oh, I'm sending you free products, create content around how great it is, and I'll just keep feeding you free products. But honey, these influencers are like, no, this is my time, and you need to compensate me for my time with money, honey. And I love it because creating content is a job within itself. These influencers are not asking for your products. You see that they have a great audience and a great deliverance, and you want to expose your product to their audience. You should pay for that because they are paying these celebrities to do it. Okay? So I'll never knock that. But what I also love are these influencers, whether you are sending them products or not, they get on that YouTube channel and they are completely honest and transparent about how they genuinely feel about those products. And I am here for it. Because a lot of that energy was back in the day. But today, these influencers, honey, you better have your product game on point. Because everyone here is not available to be your yes man. So please understand that some influencers are being influenced to be biased about these products. So that's another reason why they don't work for your hair whenever you try them out. Whenever you are specifically looking for natural hair care advice, YouTube is just not a place to resort to. And I know trying to find a natural hair care specialist come a dime a dozen. But putting the research into that opposed to conveniently opening up your laptop or logging onto your computer in order to find a solution, I highly recommend you dive deep in search. Because in order to achieve any natural hair goal, the person who you decide to invest in have to know the science, anatomy, and physiology of hair in order to get you there. YouTubers, beauty influencers, they have no idea that hair strands have 3 layers. And each of these layers are extremely important in order for you to reach your natural hair goals. They are only familiar with the one, which is cuticle. But no one talks about the cortex and the medulla. A lot of YouTube influencers and also licensed professionals, but I'm going to tell you the reason why licensed professionals are still doing this, but let me get back to the YouTube influencers. A lot of YouTube influencers are still resorting to the curl pattern chart, which was literally just a way to monetize off of the natural hair movement. It's not even a real thing, because a lot of you don't even understand why you have curly hair. And it ain't because you black. It all has to do with the shape of your follicle in your scalp. You'll never get that information from an influencer on YouTube, because that's science, okay? They don't know the science of hair. I'm going to say the majority don't, because maybe there is one or two out there, but the majority don't. I used to use the curl pattern chart as a point of reference for my client and I to understand one another when it comes to communicating in the consultation. But I no longer do that, because my job is to educate them properly so that they fully understand why or how to reach their hair goals and why they have not been able to in the past. And it has everything to do with that curl pattern chart to a certain extent. There are even hair products out here catered to a curl pattern. And none of these hair products, they don't even mention porosity. Not understanding, in order for your hair product to work for that quote unquote 4C, 4B, 4A client or person or consumer, porosity has to be considered. And everyone's porosity is not the same. I would really respect the industry if they came out with a product that catered to porosity over texture. Because if you do that, you are going to literally solve so many natural hair problems out here for every woman that's experiencing them. And nothing makes my skin crawl more than an influencer misinforming viewers when they have so many views. When I tell you, it literally makes all licensed professional jobs hard, because y'all are so good at influencing that it's hard for us to reprogram these clients to help them understand that they have been misinformed. Y'all really make our job so much harder. I highly recommend YouTube for styling inspiration, hairstyling and finishing inspiration, but not hair care. And I'm saying that because there are more videos out here that are misinforming viewers than they're not. Now, I have came across a few where I'm like, yes, thank you. Obviously, you have been educated, or you have researched the information that you needed in order to truly educate your viewers. And I'm very happy about that. But there are some who just find the first little piece of information and they just create it for content and views in order for them to reach their engagement, in order to monetize off of YouTube. And it's very obvious. It's just not obvious to your viewers. Besides hairstyling, I have referred to YouTube for organic natural hair care, such as using certain herbs and nuts in order to produce oils that can really penetrate hair growth. Because there are herbalists who are on YouTube that can educate you on what these specific herbs do for your hair. And you don't have to go to cosmetology school in order to get that information. As a matter of fact, they actually don't even have it in cosmetology school. So that is a great source for YouTube when it comes to situations related to that. But these herbalists have their own education that they have sought in order to provide this information for you. So it's still legit education at the end of the day. It's not a beauty influencer that's just trying to influence you to try out the latest and the greatest and keep up with the trends. So those are the ones that I discourage you to actually follow unless it's related to hairstyling content. And I'm sure there are some of you out here that have had great success with YouTube. But from my experience with my clients behind the chair, there have been more that have not. So I'm not going to discredit for some of the success stories out there that have been helped by these influencers, because I'm not going to act like they don't serve some source in order to help you achieve your hair goals. However, I don't believe that they can achieve the depths, only the surface. And I also believe it's short term and not long term. And this is from my own personal experience. You know, I could interview a client and they could come on here and argue the opposite. So I'm not going to say that I'm 100% right. However, I am 100% right when it comes to the science and anatomy and physiology of the hair structure in our heads. And that's information an influencer just cannot help you with unless they were once a licensed cosmetologist turned beauty influencer, or they have generational hairstylists in their families. Other than that, nope. I'm not trying to come off as a YouTube beauty influencer basher, because I'm not. I'm just sharing my experience and also my professional expertise in order to give you a more insightful and, just more clarity and understanding to your why when things do not happen the way that you had hoped for whenever you were watching this influencer and being inspired by their content. I just would like for us to dig a little deeper beyond the surface in order for us to really reach our natural hair goals, in order for us to genuinely love our hair. Because I still experience so many clients who struggle to love the natural coils that organically spiral out of their scalps. And if YouTube influencers were the answer, then I wouldn't experience this overwhelming amount of clients in my chair that are experiencing these unfortunate, unhealthy, emotional connections with their hair. And I genuinely am simply here to provide the facts and create real life scenarios in order for you to gain a healthy emotional connection with your hair. And YouTube influencers are just not it. Unless they are providing organic content to help you understand psychologically what the real is when it comes to the natural hair journey. I will say too, some clients do not seek enough education out there that's online before you do tap into going natural. And I will say I love YouTube influencers who are providing content, sharing their vulnerable, unfortunate, and fortunate experiences on their natural hair journey in order for you to connect emotionally in a realistic state of mind before you make this commitment. I highly love those YouTube influencers. So it's not that I don't somewhat recommend YouTube beauty influencers for some insightful information when it comes to our hair. I just don't recommend YouTube beauty influencers as a source for anything deeper and beyond the surface in order for you to reach realistic natural hair care goals. Thank y'all so much for putting up with me. I struggle creating this podcast because I am currently recovering from an upper respiratory infection. So if you could hear some little sniffles, if I sounded a little clogged up tonight or today, whichever time frame you are listening on your end and side of the world, that is the why. So thank you again for putting up with me. I am truly appreciative and grateful. And that's a wrap for this episode of Hear What I'm Saying. We hope you found our discussion about the potential pitfalls of relying on YouTube beauty influencers both enlightening and thought-provoking. We know that the beauty world is vast and always evolving, and YouTube can be a fantastic source of inspiration. But it's essential to remember that nothing can replace the solid foundation of education, experience, and industry expertise that licensed cosmetologists like us bring to the table. Before we say goodbye, here's a golden nugget to take with you. Always seek knowledge from licensed professionals who are invested in accredited education to ensure your safety and satisfaction are never compromised. If you enjoyed this episode and want more enlightening discussions about the world of beauty, remember to like, share, rate, review, and subscribe to the Hear What I'm Saying podcast. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us keep this conversation going. If you want to learn how to gain confidence in public speaking, I highly recommend Shalonda Jones to anyone looking to boost their confidence in this area. Shalonda's expertise and personalized approach are truly exceptional. With her guidance, I witnessed a remarkable transformation in my public speaking abilities. She provides a supportive and encouraging environment that helps you conquer your fears and hone your communication skills. Shalonda's techniques are both effective and empowering, making her an invaluable resource for anyone seeking to excel in public speaking. Whether you're a novice or an experienced speaker, Shalonda will elevate your confidence and presentation skills to new heights. Be sure to give her a follow at speechcoach.shalondo on Instagram and TikTok. Notice I did say Shalondo because her name is spelled Shalando. I didn't want to mess that up for y'all because I really truly want y'all to connect with her. A huge shout out to our outstanding podcast manager, Sophie. Sophie, you have been an absolute rock star behind the scenes, ensuring every episode runs smoothly and flawlessly. Your dedication, creativity, and attention to detail have elevated this podcast to new heights. To our listeners, if you'd like to connect with Sophie and discover more about her virtual services, you can find her on Instagram at Sophie Virtual Services. Give her a follow, and trust me, you won't be disappointed. Next, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to the talented musician who has provided the incredible music that accompanies our podcast, Doo-Wop. Doo-Wop's musical compositions have added depth and atmosphere to our show, making each episode an immersive experience. If you're as captivated by Doo-Wop's work as I am, be sure to check him out on YouTube and Instagram. Give him a follow at Doo-Wop_2.0. His beats and melodies are truly something special.